Hi all, welcome back to the final whistle then for another match preview on the channel. Will the drought come to an end? Who knows? 1 win and 8 for Leicester City going into this game. Blackburn coming off an absolute big win against Southampton, by the way. I think it was a much needed one, to be fair. We're going to be joined by Ollie Collins, better known on TikTok as Jolly Ollie. I don't know how jolly he is going to be after the Southampton win, but heading to the King Power Stadium where last time they played us, they beat us 2-0. Hopefully that's not the case this time round after they've just beat Southampton, Steve. But Leicester have got to pick up, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got to turn up, and if they don't, then there'll be more pressure on the manager and more pressure on the squad, that's for sure.
Right, let's see who's in. Everyone get your comments in, questions in throughout the show. If you've got any questions regarding Blackburn, Leicester, get them in. Hi lads, so this weekend is where Marty picks his team wheel 1 and Carranza and Daka stick 4 past Rovers, or maybe not. Well, there's you hoping, Rich, in that one, mate, when you talk about certain players. Kyle, how are we? And hello, here comes the best intro of all time. I don't know about that, but people won't let me change it when I'm obviously discussed about changing it. But Terry, yes, best theme tune into 4 different trophies should be 5. Oh, well, should we get the man in? Should we get the man in himself, or should we discuss the documentary first? I'll tell you what. Let's review the premiere last night. Steve, obviously you didn't go. You did have a ticket. I think what I'd say to Leicester fans is the documentary. It's worth a watch. Tomorrow it will be streamed live out on Fox's Hub and that. So yeah, I'd say give it a watch. It shows his recovery and how he's dealt with it mentally and that, and how he built himself back up strong again, because we never knew how Abdul would respond to this ACL injury, whether he'd come back the same player or come back even stronger. And he's proved that he's come back a stronger player, and like he says, he loves the fans, he loves the club, and he thrives off the energy that the fans give him. So I think, Steve, I think it'd be one to watch, mate, if it is free. I think they're putting it on YouTube as well.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's an hour long, isn't it? So it's something you can sit down and watch in the background whilst you're doing other bits and pieces. But that's not what I'm interested in, Jack. I'm interested in what you told me before the stream in regards to him sort of announcing to the crowd about the season and saying that the fans need to back the players, that they are trying really hard. So what was your thought process when you saw that, when he stood up there and started calling out the fans?
I think it's just honesty. I think him as a player, he wants to be the main man at the club. For him to come out and say, be patient. It is a long season. We do know that. When he started saying the players are working hard and that, I think we just lack of showing that at the minute. I think that's what we want to see as fans, that they are working hard, not bloody just hearsay in it at this point, that you're doing something at the training ground and you're not doing it on match day. So
yeah.
I just want to see it print white. He did say that he needs to put a lot more work in. He needs to do a lot more. And I always say, I was thinking when he said that sort of comment last night, that we can't keep relying on him. Yeah. I get he wants to be the main man, but we can't keep relying on Abdul. Abdul's the best player in the team, but it shows this season that we are relying too much on him. His brilliance, his expertise, that he's scoring the goals that Leicester City are scoring, obviously with Jordan James now and Ramsey, but Leicester can't keep relying on Abdul. We need other players in the team to step up.
Yeah, I completely agree, yeah. And him saying that he needs to do more, mate, I think you might need to do a little less. maybe because if you do more, you're trying too hard and it just doesn't work. So yeah, look, it's nice to have a player come out and actually look like a captain for a change. It's been a long time coming since we've had a proper leader on the pitch, because unfortunately, even Vardy, I wouldn't necessarily call him a captain. The last proper captain we had was probably Casper with a voice. So, but it's nice that he's come out and said that. But at the same time, it does feel a little bit like, look, calling out the fans and being like, get behind the lads because we are trying. Well, if you're trying, show it. Show it on the pitch.
Exactly.
It didn't feel like that at all against Millwall at the weekend, and the first half against Hull, and the second half against Portsmouth. So yeah, get out there
and speak louder than words. That's all I'm going to say.
Performance.
Are we having another dose of? No, we're not bashing Luke Thomas, Michael. We don't just criticize one player. I know Dan obviously has a bit to say.
He is shit though.
He's not good enough. That's all I'm saying. It's constructive criticism. It's not hate towards the player. It's just constructive criticism that he isn't good enough. And someone said to me at the weekend at the Millwall game, 4 years contract. He's been crap since then. I'm thinking, mate, have you actually watched him before? But that's not. He's just not good enough. I physically want him to do better. I do, because I want this team to do well as a fan. But he just makes too many mistakes. I'm sorry. But you've got Christensen behind him, mate, and I don't think he's any better. I think I'd give Olabode Aluko a game this weekend than both of them. But that's me again. Will Carranza start? I don't know. Let Jolly Ollie sweat. I think he's eating. I don't want to bring him in while he's eating. No, it's not. It's not Luke Thomas's fault. It's a team collective performance of why we're not good enough this season, Michael. That's not just one player. I don't put it down to one player that we've won one game in 8, mate. It takes a whole team to perform like that.
It also doesn't help that he has a winger on his side that doesn't try back and defend in Monga.
Yeah.
That's one thing I will criticise Monga for, is that with Mavididi, at least he tracks back and puts in the effort, whereas it doesn't feel like that with Monga. It's like you stay forward and he can't defend. So, look, it's not all Luke Thomas's fault, but the majority of the goals we've conceded in the last few weeks have come from down that side. So, you got to take the rough with the smooth. And he gets paid an awful lot of money to play for Leicester City.
Gets more than what we get paid on a weekly basis.
That's my issue here, is the fact that we pay to go to watch football every week. We put our hard-earned money into the club to go watch football. We're not paying they're not paying for the privilege to play for the club. We're paying them. So, but no, I agree. Look, Christensen is also a poor fullback. They're both poor. One can be said with the other.
Opinion, man. We all have different opinions.
Yeah, not criticising you, but
that's it.
At the end of the day, we are on this earth and we're on a podcast to make.
That's what football is about. Nobody's forcing you. Football's based on opinions, and it is what it is. But hopefully the team do bounce back this weekend. Is what we're hoping as fans. Should we get the main man in? Should we get our guest in? Ollie Collins, better known as Jolly Ollie from TikTok. If you're a Blackburn fan, you all know Jolly Ollie. The voice, the laugh, and everything about the bloke. The bloke's a character, and tonight he's actually going to bring that to the table. Jolly Ollie, my good friend, how are we?
Yeah, we're good, boys. How you doing? You're all right.
I tell you what, mate, you're smiling more than me. I'm sure that's because you got your win at the weekend, mate. A much needed win for Rovers.
It was much needed. This run of fixtures going forward, included like Southampton, Leicester. It's great for momentum. We've had a decent record at the King Power, which there's a little cause for optimism. There's no reason why we can't go there and potentially actually at least compete with you. The only thing I've got about this game, the next 2 games that we've got, lads, we've got Leicester, we've got Bristol away. Talk about 2 really hard fixtures in the Championship. Somebody said before the other day about there should be a free hit for Rovers. And I hate that. They're saying about free hits. You could probably argue early doors of the season, but we're a quarter of the way into the season now. The table is starting to tell us where everyone's going to be or where we're going to be competing. Yeah. And I don't want to see the next two games as, oh, we've just got to beat 2-0. Oh, we've just got to beat 1-0 by Bristol City, but we were unlucky. XG's there, all this kind of nonsense. I hate it. I need to be going and competing toe-to-toe with championship teams.
Ollie, where's it gone wrong for Blackburn, mate? Is it ownership? Is it director of football? It seems like a bit of a common theme when you talk to us Leicester fans about certain subjects of these sort of calibers. But where's it gone wrong for Blackburn? Because you haven't spent. You're a club who's really struggling, and things just don't seem to be right at Ewood Park at the minute. And obviously, the floodgates have been opened regarding the rain in recent weeks. Is it that Blackburn fans are fuming, or is it the weather?
I mean, tell you this one. I was at the Ipswich game, and look, I mean, you couldn't write a script sometimes with some of the games this year. One being we're up 1-0 against Birmingham with literally on the 90th minute, then losing 2-1, even though there's a considerable amount of injury time. The Ipswich one, yes, we battered them. It was a lot of rain. We've taken a battering from other teams saying, oh, we're Tim Park, your ground's like this, your ground's like that. Listen, if you live in the north, right, especially around that bottom, you know how much it pours. Any normal ground could not withstand substantial. It was like pouring a bucket of water continuously over the stadium for 90 minutes. You just couldn't take it. Look, that result, as much as we all probably prayed somewhere that maybe that game they would give us the 3 points, it was never going to happen. Okay, so we're going to come back to that one in a couple of weeks. Take that. Look, our owners have always been the problem. Our chief executive has been a problem for the last couple of years. It's been a torrid time. There's been a lot of off-field matters at that football club that have literally probably spilled over into what's been happening on the pitch. Now, this season, we've had to get rid of I wouldn't say dead weight, but we've actually lost a lot of really good quality championship players. Collectively, it was around about nearly 1,000 appearances. Now, all of a sudden now, we've gone into a European market who we had no idea who we were getting. It kind of feels like we put names into a tombola and drew out names for transfers. That's how it feels at times. The game on Saturday for me, as much as it was a good confidence boost to beat Southampton, who, same with yourselves, were the ones that were saying, look, they're going to be up there this season. So confidence-wise, brilliant. I do generally think it just paints over what is a lot of cracks at the football club at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. Steve, have you got any questions for Ollie so far?
So obviously, Blackburn have a long storied history with the Premier League, former winners yourselves back in the 90s. We've seen the protests over the years with the Venkies and stuff. Now, we have our own issues with our ownership. Where are you guys at the moment with your owners? Are you against them? Are you still for them? What's the situation?
I think if you were to ask the majority of fans, basically everyone would want them out. I do feel like all they do is the bare minimum at the football club. Now, you guys can relate to this, right? So you get the usual people that come up and say, yeah, but, they're keeping the club afloat. They're paying the bills. I'm not being rude. That's the bare minimum you should be doing as an owner, okay? I'm not going to sit here and applaud you for going, oh, well done, he's put 5 million up. Yeah, well done. That's what you're doing. We do not make money as a football club. There is barely any clubs, barring the big six, that will make profit year on year on year continuously, even with player turnover, everything else. I get that, but we've been crying out for you. It's not just that. It's the people they put in charge. It's literally, honestly, I say the Muppets, but I would trust Kermit the Frog to do a better job of running our football club than those guys who we've got in the doors at the moment. And that's the honest truth. They could not organise a piss up in a brewery. It's just, when you hear so many stories that come out of the football club, and you guys are probably privileged because you have your channels, you have your platforms, and you hear all this information sometimes, and you think to yourself, I don't know, maybe this is just like people just trying to stir a pot, make up rumours, whatever it may be. But I'm always a believer that there is no smoke without fire. And I've heard so many stories coming out from this summer, going back a year, going back 2 years, and the same people, and the one man that's still been there continuously is a gentleman called Sahel Pasha. And he's been at that football club helm for 15 years now. We're celebrating 150th year anniversary in about a week's time. And basically there's potentially people going around saying, look, and I can understand them, we'd rather say 135/15 because we'd rather forget the last 15 years and where we've been. All right, we've not gone bust, we're not a Bury, we're not a Macclesfield, etc. But just the sense of direction there where we've been on, it's like we go one step forward and 100 steps back kind of thing. Every single time, false lies, false projects, managers through the door, the lies about John Eustace, everything is. It's almost like I've seen more drama at our football club than I would do on Coronation Street. Honestly.
Well, Ollie, last season you finished 7th. You nearly just managed to make the playoffs. This season, so far, you played 11, won 3, drawn 1, lost 7, 10 points, 21st in the table. What's the expectations this season as a Rovers fan?
Look, I said at the beginning there, we've lost a lot of championship experience. So the expectation I would be is for me would to be at least remain within the championship and build from there. The problem is the football at times, especially the last couple of games, has been very rigid, no sense of direction. I don't think a lot of people have bought in on the idea of Valérien Ismaël being a long-term project for Blackburn Rovers. And yet again, when I go back to decisions made by the board, they give people like John Eustace 2 years, John Dale Thompson 2 years, Valérien Ismaël all of a sudden gets a 3.5-year contract. So make that make sense. And the only thing he's ever done, which is decent, but he got Barnsley into the playoffs, but that was in a COVID year, guys. Let's take that into sort of different context. I think generally Rovers fans across the board, we just want to see our team competing. And the only thing we've had recently is we could lose a game by 2 goals and we get the manager that will come out and say, but the XG's there. But I hate stats like that. Just put the ball in the back of the net. That's all I want to see. I couldn't care less. Like, we were probably second best against Southampton in terms of stats, everything on Saturday, but we beat them 2-1. That's all I generally care about. I don't care about an XG that says we're supposed to score 3 or 4 goals, and because there's information like that, lads, which keeps managers in a job, don't you think? You know, so you can speak yourselves at the moment, right? You could probably go and batter us on Saturday. You could have 10 shots on goal. We'll sit back, absorb the energy. We might break on the counter and get a 75th minute winner. But yeah, the data is this kind of thing that will say to the chief executive is, well, if the lads put the ball in the net, then off we go. But at the same time, he's the one that should be driving the motivation for the team. I get fed up with him. I'm not a massive fan of XG, but to answer the question, I think Rovers fans would generally just like to sustain ourselves within the championship and be competitive.
Fair enough. I think when you look at stats, Steve, it's about if you're picking up them 3 points, isn't it? It doesn't matter if you dominate a game, if you're not winning the game and you've dominated a game, then it doesn't matter, does it? At the end of the day, you've got to be picking up them wins to go with it. And this has been Leicester's issue, isn't it, Steve? Where we can dominate some games in the championship, but we just allow teams to come and get something from us.
Well, yeah. So what you said, Ollie, is correct in regards to XG, because we've been pretty good on XG in certain games, but we've not picked up the points. So that's all well and good, but unless you're scoring goals, you're not going to pick up points. And we struggle against teams that press us high. I don't know if that's something that you guys do as a team necessarily. If you leave us to have hold of the ball and give us time to pass the ball around the back, we should be all right. But if you press us up higher, we tend to struggle. It's something that frustrates a lot of Leicester fans. So if you go 1-0 up on Saturday, there's going to be a lot of loud moaning from the stands, that's for sure. But you got to have confidence in your team, I guess. Not so much for Leicester, that's for sure. There's a lot of fans that are a bit down on them. But I don't know if you've seen any of our games this season, at all.
I have in bits and pieces, and I think me and Jack have talked away from other chats and that before. And I've said to Jack, I think maybe if you look at not only Leicester but Southampton, and then look at Ipswich as well, there seems like there was almost, they felt that it was inevitable that they would be competing within sort of the top six. And it's not worked out that way. Now, for me, it's fantastic. This league is competitive. And I also think it's great that when you go up to the Premier League now, the 3 teams that have been promoted so far seem to be handling themselves pretty well. So in terms of being a competitive league, can't argue one bit. But for Leicester, for example, you can definitely see the danger man and how they'll go about it. Football, I just think that teams have just thought to themselves, there's no point letting teams come onto us. They've got to be a counter-offensive. And if that means that we have to sit back, which I do assume that we probably will do for a little bit on Saturday. But if Rovers are able to pick some holes in your defence, which seems to have happened the last couple of games, then we do have the ability to hold that out sometimes, and maybe just come away with a clean sheet. You never know.
So who would you say is your danger man? So Todd Cantwell comes up quite a lot because he's a cam that plays behind the striker. Would you say that's him, or is there somebody else in the team that we should be looking at?
I think this time last year, by the way, when we got Todd Cantwell, there was a lot of expectations. I think because purely his name's just from the time he was in the Premier League, it didn't work out. Nearly had the big money move. This year, massively influential. Injured last couple of games, so I don't know if maybe early doors he might be struggling just in terms of mobility to get around the centre midfield. But he is a pivotal player, and what I like about him is last season he could easily shrug the guy off the ball. Maybe he was hoping the referee was going to be a bit lenient towards him, maybe a couple of fouls his way. But he's very good nowadays at sort of dictating the play. Definitely will pass the ball forward, but he'll run onto the attack. He looks to to feed within the midfield really, really well. I've been massively impressed with this season. 3 goals is not a bad return. In terms of assists and everything else as well, I think collectively he's got about 5 goals, assists as well, collectively along. So he is one of the influential players, definitely. There's other players in there which are still trying to find their feet. I think Yuki Ohashi last season scored some really good goals. No expectation for the Japanese league, by the way. And this season, he does get in those positions. But at the moment, and going back to the XG here, by the way, right, it's looking like he needs if he's having 5 shots on goal, he's only going to score probably 1 of them. So that is probably maybe our major danger men. And we're quite lucky we've got a decent keeper in Toff in goal at the moment as well.
Fair enough. Stevie, where is it? Paul talks about this. And the last 2 home games, we've seen this a lot, haven't we? Steve, to be fair, where we go 1-0 up in games, Pompey at home, Wrexham at home. And yeah, second half, we sort of had the game comfortable for the first half going into the second half, and then we just let teams score somehow. We always feel that the game's won at 1-0. And would you say that's a mentality thing, Steve, that's really let us down this season regarding how players think? And you could say some think they shouldn't be in the Championship, but they deserve to be because of how poor they was last season.
So I think there's 2 ways of looking at it. So if you compare it to Enzo Maresca's last time we were in the Championship, and if we went a goal up, we'd play the same way, but we'd still be making attacking chances. And if that when that does happen, you're likely to score a second goal. I find that with Marty, when we go a goal up in the first half, usually we go into the break and the players are sort of gone, okay, we'll just keep the ball passing around each other and we'll win this game quite easily. But we're quite slow at reacting to a manager's change. So like against Portsmouth, they brought the central defender up into the middle of the midfield to make it free midfield, which meant that we were slightly overrun. And that means JJ couldn't get forward and Ramsey struggled to make any impact. No, it was Dakota Reed, sorry, he failed to make an impact in the second half. So it's a twofold question. That yes, that we are a bit lethargic. We are a bit sort of cocky in a sense, where we go a goal up and think we can sit back and hold on to it, when actually, we found out that if we get a goal and we sit back, we always concede because we give the ball too easily with the pressing against us. So if we've got defenders passing the ball across the back line, when you make a mistake, they're on the 18-yard box, and at that point you're going to give up goals at some point. You can't keep doing that. So I'm hoping that Marty will change it around slightly, in the sense of, if we go a goal up, then we don't just sit on it. We move the ball around a bit quicker, and because it will have to be, Blackburn will come on to us, and then we'll have to play out from there. But the only time will tell. He's only 12 games in. I'm still on the fence with him, to be honest. But I just got to hope that we actually put in a 90-minute performance at the weekend, because if we don't, God, it's stressful and it's annoying.
Yeah, that's something we've really liked. And, Blackburn, they can join us in putting up 45-minute performances, Steve. They did that against Southampton, Ollie, 1-0 down. And then all of a sudden, second half, you come to light and you beat Southampton. And Southampton probably should have won that game again with the chances that they had. Something that I'd say a lot about Leicester, with the chances that we have, we don't put away when we don't get enough into the box. When we do have chances, teams like to say to Leicester, okay, well, you shoot outside the box. You're not really going to cause us a problem. Southampton looked very much the same against you lot. And then within the last 15 minutes of the game, you were 2-1 up. How do you sort of approach the game against Leicester, Ollie? What do you think he needs to change in regarding tactics of how he handles the game, Ishmael, against the Foxes?
Well, first and foremost, what Steve was saying there about kind of having these great 45 minutes, Steve, Blackburn's been the same this season, except we've got a manager which I kind of feel like he does post-match interviews like Mike Bassett. Like we'll remember was it the Mike Bassett one where he said, Tonka was knackered after 20 minutes, but what a 20 minutes it was. It's dribble like that which comes out of the manager's mouth. We got beat to Sheffield United 3-1 last week. Now, by the way, Sheffield United are a very good team, on paper, by the way. Not so great this year, but they will regain their poise. And it just so happens that second half, as much as they came back to win 3-1, we gifted them. We literally capitulated as a team. We've got our manager turning around and saying, yeah, but we played well for 50 minutes. And that's my problem. How can you sustain things for 90 minutes? In football, for Christ's sake, maybe you can't play high pressure, high intensity for 50 minutes, but there must be games where you can, within the match, there must be moments where you can take a step back, couple of yards, come back further into your defence, leave attackers a bit further up, play that counter-attack and use that as a weapon. But for us, sort of thing, the Southampton game, I would say, was, you could argue, probably luck favoured us, and we've not really had much for a fair few weeks now. So the Ipswich game, which should have really been 3 points, wasn't. There was games when we were leading, when we cost. And it's a rarity, by the way, and I mean this, a rarity that Rovers come back from a losing position to win a football match. So how we've scored 2, and if you look at the goals, by the way, they are very fortunate goals, by the way. The cross, the keeper was poor, by the way, and the keeper was poor all afternoon, McCarthy was. Look, it's to come back from a losing position with 15 minutes to go, to win a game 2-1, it's great. Toff kept us in the game. Adam Armstrong, 2 seasons ago, puts all 3 or 4 of those chances away. So we'll count our lucky stars. It just, for me, would be, as much as I was joyous about actually winning a game of football, and felt like I won a cup last week, to be fair, the way we all went on. But
it's your biggest win since 1995, isn't it, Ollie? Huh?
Yeah, that might, potentially, yes. I mean, don't forget the 2002 League Cup as well. So thank you very much. Okay,
I know them like to remind you down the road.
Yeah, of course. But they've got nothing to shout about anyway. No trophy cabinet. It's all right. Same with Coventry. No trophy cabinet. Right. So, right. But it's a great test this week. And you know what? If we come away with a point this week on the basis of last Saturday, and we can learn from that, then I see no reason why we can't turn up and grab something.
Steve, they'd be more happy with us than that, wouldn't they, to be fair? We've obviously won one game in the last 8 games, which isn't good enough. We need to be winning games consistently. We need to put in a 90-minute performance at some point. It just feels like we're really struggling, Steve. We sit 10th in the table. We're a quarter of the way through the season now. 4 wins, 5 draws, 3 defeats. Steve, will the drought end this weekend, mate? How do you think we need to really set up against Blackburn? Because there's been a lot of low par performances from players in the team. We don't look an effectiveness up front. We seem like Casper the Ghost up front. So, Ollie, if you see the ball move on its own, mate, and it's going to someone's feet, you'll know Leicester's got the ball. No, joking.
It'll be passing Daka.
It's Steve. We just seem too slow. The defence itself, it's just like we have to cover a lot more because we're making mistakes after mistakes in defence, and it's costing us goals. We seem to be so predictable to play against, and teams are just biding our time against us. And what I'd say to Ollie is, if you get stuck in against us, we don't like being kicked in that, do we, Steve? So, how do you think Marty needs to really set up in this one, mate? Because this one's it's a tough game, really, isn't it?
It is. Well, so I don't think he'll make many changes. I think he'll, in regards to the tactics, I think there'll be changes in that are forced because of the Aaron Ramsey situation with him potentially being injured. I think we'll see Luke Thomas drop out, whether that's for a Luco or Christensen, I'm not sure. I think we see Mavididi come in for Monga. And then it'll be more of the same, really. Unfortunately, we're stuck with the squad now until January, and there's not many changes you can make to improve it. So, we'll play the same football because he's sort of married to that system. I personally, I would like us to go 2 up top. I said earlier on that I wouldn't be against going 4-4-2 at this point and having Ramsey and Winks in the midfield, Abdul, Mavididi on the wings, and then 2 up top and Karanta and Daka, and just see if that changes anything. But we know that today's day and age with football and how managers want to play, it's never a 4-4-2 anymore, is it? It's always a sort of 4-1-2-1-6-9-15. So, it's a bit of a pain in the arse to try and guess, but I can't imagine there's going to be many changes.
I'd like to see Ben Nelson. I'd like to see a Luco. I would like to see Silko Thomas give a chance, to be fair, at some point in the game. Louis Page, I believe he's off to the under-18s for England. I think Jake Evans is going as well. So we talk about Jake Evans scoring goals. We're not going to have that this weekend either. So we're going to be stuck with the same 3. So we might not look a threat Ollie up front. So you just have to mark our strikers, mate, and they won't do anything. We're very much 2-dimensional, Ollie, to be fair, in the case that we rely on Abdul Fatawu quite a lot. And that guy's a phenomenal player. He's a player that can change a game without opposition thinking about it. He scored a lot of worldies this season, and I'd like to see him get one at the weekend because that's all we seem to shoot from, Ollie, to be fair, far distance. So these 2 sides have not drawn any of their last 3 matches against each other. So I know you lot have got a decent record since coming in the last 2 visits, haven't you? Beat us in the league last time on the final day where all our players were pissed after getting promotion and that. So we saved your skin, mate, after Birmingham. You lot could have gone down instead of Birmingham, but we took it easy on you. But no, you obviously beat us in that FA Cup game, didn't you? John Dole Thomason did a job on Brendan Rodgers, by the way, that game. So we haven't kept a clean sheet in 6 matches, and neither of you.
You mean Enzo?
No, Brendan Rodgers. He did a job on Brendan Rodgers in the FA Cup, and he did a job on Enzo.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I was very confused, and I was like, hang on, it was Enzo when they battered us at home.
John Hughes for the manager when they beat us last game of the season.
Right.
And then just to throw in the one with the FA Cup, lads, obviously beat you a Premier League team at the time, but I think that was I'm pretty sure that was the season that maybe Leicester got relegated, but it was kind of the start of the decline, really down forward. I just remember turning up that night thinking, we've got a chance here. I think I was. If I look back to that night, the amount of chance that we had against what was a very good Premier League side, by the way, at the time, and I know you might not have favoured Brendan Rodgers at the time.
Right? Luke Thomas, yeah, and we
also
made
our downfall started the FA Cup game against Forest, so way before you.
No. But this is in terms of the FA Cup game we played a couple of seasons ago. This is not nothing to do with the the back end or whatsoever. But since then it's been a different manager every time we turned up to the King Power. Anyway, I'd like to turn up with the same manager if we could. Anyway, but look, it gives me a bit of hope. I mean, I was talking to Football Martin last week, the Southampton fan, prior to our game, and he told me that Southampton had only beaten Blackburn at Ewood Park. The last time was 1999. I look at our record against you, and I think it's an early morning kickoff. I think the thing you said to me before really sticks in, which is your fans at the moment, they could easily get on the players' back. So if we get an early goal, we get an early goal and we sense that, you know what I mean, you're almost digging your claws into the players. You can feel a bit of animosity maybe towards the chief executive. Things that unfortunately that we had to deal with on Saturday.
Chief executive, we ain't got one. We've got a director of football. But saying that, if we pounce on that on Saturday and we get an early goal, we'll settle the atmosphere. You guys know as well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you do a 12:30, right, it's almost like people are just kind of going, it's almost like people just jumped out of bed and like, it's just like yawning, and just like the momentum doesn't get started straight away. So it takes a little bit of time. And I think that we played the whole of the season and a 12:30 kickoff. We got a great result there, and I just think that maybe that might play into our hands. Well, we haven't beat you at the King Power in the last 3 visits you've come. So, like I say, 2-0 last time, the FA Cup game 2-1, and then you drew with us in a friendly 2020, which would have been pre-season, which don't really count that. So. Last time we beat you, Ollie, mate, was September the 17th, 2013. David Nugent scored for Leicester and Lloyd Dyer. Jordan Rhodes scored for Blackburn.
Remember Jordan Rhodes. Yeah,
Jordan Rhodes. Yeah.
So can we just say hello to the Suffolk Crunch in the chat? Yeah, he's an Ipswich fan. He said he's going to come in and give you some emojis in regards to the game that got called off. So I'm going to put it out there for you, Ollie. I hope you batter the little slugs when they come back up to your end. I really do. Because he's got a challenge to Blackburn twice this season already. So,
you know what annoyed me about the whole thing, right, is the amount of Ipswich fans are started saying things like, oh, do you know what? It should have been played in the first. Listen, Ipswich were completely off the boil. We battered them that game. We got a goal. Regardless of the weather and what it was, it was old school football which we played on Sunday League at times, and they just weren't up for the battle. And I don't care what Kieran McKenna says; they can say should have been played, but I generally do hope that when we play them, that justice in football, means that we get the result which we duly deserved at the time.
Should we have a look at foot in both camps then on this one? So we've got Yakubu on the list. Marcus Bent, Bruno Berner, Nathan Blake, Mark Bunn, DJ Campbell, Greg Cunningham, John Curtis, Neil Dans, Callum Davidson. Callum Davidson, I believe he played for Preston and all, actually. One of the other Lancashire sides. Nathan Delfonso, Paul Dickov, who did well for both clubs, Paul Dickov. Tim Flowers, who you'd remember quite well, Ollie, from that Premier League title win back in the 90s. Keith Gillespie, Paul Gallagher, Simon Grayson, Craig Hignett, George Hurst. I mean, George Hurst is probably one of the worst strikers. I mean, Mr. Bread and Butter of the Championship these days, Ollie, mate. Can't finish his dinner.
Well, I mean, we had him on loan, and I think we remember he had a penalty last minute against Cardiff and missed it, and he never recovered. And then when he went to Ipswich and he scored against us, he was giving all these big licks and all that lot. And it was, never really stepped up for us, unfortunately.
There is a player that actually that I don't know if he's played for you guys yet, but he was in our academy, and that's Sidney Tavares. Has he featured?
Oh, come on, Ollie, tell us about the champ, mate.
No, I'm a bit disappointed, really. You lay all these chants out for the fans, and you think that's going to motivate a player, and unfortunately, it hasn't. So the chant is basically, our Portuguese midfielder, Sidney Tavares. Unfortunately, I don't know what scouting recruitment we've got. The recruitment's been the big issue at Rovers recently, hence why I generally think that Rudy Gestede just plays on Championship Manager or FIFA and just thinks it's that easy in real life.
That's
now,
Steve. That's Steve for you.
Wow.
But anyway,
I don't feel like I could run a football club still.
But lads, you know what it's like, right? So, for example, I'll give you the thing, right? So, anyway, you sign a player or you're linked with a player. Somebody puts up someone from YouTube, which is a 30-second clip of him making a 20-yard pass or some goal against some bids. I don't know what it is. Anyway, you do that, and then when it starts getting waxed lyrical about how good he's going to be, and he always played a bit of Premier League football championship. He looks at the moment really, really weak. The first couple of games, I thought, right, he looks quite comfortable. Can put balls around the corner. He's quite interlinked in the middle. Allowed Tronstant to go forward a bit. Definitely allows Cantwell a bit further forward. All the good things like that. And it's just at the moment, I think he's flashing to deceive. And I'm trying to think. If you look at where we've got Taylor Garner-Hickman at the moment, who came from Birmingham, who seems to be doing really well. Tronstant will work alongside him. We've got Cantwell. I really trying to think where Tavares fits in or where he's going to get a run of games to be consistent.
Yeah, it weren't good enough for us. I think last game he played for us, Steve, was Brighton on that night game, was it? The Amex, behind closed doors in COVID.
But we were desperate to keep him, according to people at the club. So, he's obviously not. He's not gone on and been the player that we thought he could be.
No.
So, fair.
A few others. Eric Johansson, Michael Keane, Tom Lawrence, Ben Marshall, Billy McKinley, Robbie Savage, one of the biggest wind-up merchants in the game for both clubs.
But you love him, don't you? Like people
when he plays you, but don't like him when he's against you. He's one of them.
Of course, but Robbie Savage. I mean, was he a technically gifted player? No. Okay. Was he an absolute shithouse that would wind the other team up, maybe disturb things a little bit, maybe drawing fouls? Yes, he did his job. And
then we've got Jay Spearing, another one. Then we've got the man himself, Mr. Robbie Savage. Oh, I tell you what, these foot in both camps. How many really did well for your club, Ollie? To be fair, mate, because Yakubu did a job for Leicester on loan. We pick out some of the others. Robbie Savage was a part of Martin O'Neill's side that won trophies. We've had some good players. Paul Dickoff, well respected at Leicester City, real fans' favourite. If you had to pick a couple out, which ones would you sort of choose?
I did actually enjoy Paul Dickoff, believe it or not. He was actually a fan favourite of Rovers. We just we had a really good. It is like, people come in and nick your players. I think it was a 2004-05 season. He got let go by Man City, so we picked him off. How would I describe him? Probably like a little Yorkshire Terrier, just like, it was like, I'd say Paul Dickoff was a bit like Scrappy Doo from Scooby Doo. He just wanted to scrap with people, didn't care less about how high he was. But what I loved about him, such a small guy. He got him within the back line so many opportunities. He'd ruffle up the defence. He was a good attribute. And he had 2 good seasons. And even when the following season, after we had him in the first year, and he was all like main striker, believe it or not. Okay. So he did a lot of work up the top really all the time. But the second season came around with Craig Bellamy, we bought him for, and Paul Dickoff was still contributing really well. So if you ask most Rovers fans, I would... Paul Dickoff definitely for me. Robbie Savage, call him a shit house of whoever want to call him. Who cares? Look, Super Robbie Savage. Mark Hughes picked him up from Birmingham, where David Gold and Sullivan said that if you go to Blackburn, you're going to get relegated. Well, do you know what? Birmingham got relegated that season afterwards anyway. So there we are to David Gold and that. So look, other players, I mean, it wasn't too long ago. I quite like players like Ben Marshall. I thought Ben Marshall was a really good player. And if you see...
scored some belters for Leicester.
He did, do you know what? It's a shame because when you see these lads in like the podcasts afterwards, and it's almost kind of like this "what could have been" mentality. And Ben Marshall was one of those as well. Maybe
that's what the
I've heard of like nights out and going to the. I could be wrong and stuff, and we're not asking players to go home every single day, just sit there, watch TV, and do football. But apparently he had too much of a social life, really, which was causing.
I think Pearson would have a word about that one about Ben Marshall, but we're not going to get into that. Steve, what about you, mate? What about some of the players that you'd sort of pick out from that list?
So, as well, I'm not sure if you mentioned him, but Danny Simpson played for you guys on loan, and so he's obviously a Premier League winner for us, and decent right back for a number of years. Has his own personal issues, but we won't talk about that. And then I'm just trying to think the list, because there were so many on that list that have actually played for a number of clubs. But Niels Erik Johansson was a Leicester sort of cult hero for a long time when he was at the club. Bruno Berner, the same sort of thing. We loved Bruno when he was at Leicester. And then, one of my favourite players growing up, and I say growing up, I was in my mid-20s. It's really weird to have a favourite player at mid-20s, isn't it? Let's be honest. But Paul Gallagher, I love Paul Gallagher at Leicester. He was outstanding.
Oh, I mean, he knew how to take a penalty, Paul Gallagher, and he came through our. I'm confused if he is a Rovers fan or is it just that he's lived local because he's a Scottish. I don't know because I've seen him at a fair few Rovers games, so I'm convinced that maybe his kids were in the academy. Then again, he played for Preston after that as well. Very solid championship player, I would call him that, to be fair. Definitely a great pen merchant. And there was an opportunity at Rovers where I did generally think at the time, and this is going back 21 years now, by the way, when he first came through, there would have been an opportunity for him to come through. But, then Rovers, be it a Premier League side at the time, went out, spend good money, and obviously Gallagher went on to do what he did. But he's carved out a decent career, to be fair. I think Paul Gallagher has.
Yeah, we signed him from you lot. We signed Bruno Berner from Blackburn as well that summer. And they turned out to be good players. Gallagher were good in free kicks, long range shots.
So if we're not a feeder club for Derby County, we must have been a feeder club for Leicester City back in the day, all right? Christ.
Well, we gave you lot George Hurst, didn't we, on loan?
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, one of those moments. When you regret buying something, you're trying to find the receipts, and you're a bit like, oh Christ, where's it gone?
Bread and butter's gone, mate. We're no more. Ollie, what's your teammate for the weekend? I think Ismail will line up against Leicester, like formation and that also.
I mean, it's looking like it'll probably be more of a. I don't know how to say what Steve said before with formations. I just want to do a 4-4-2, and that'd be as simple as it's kind of like a 3 or maybe a 5, but it's inverted wing backs, and then you've got 3 in the middle. Then you got 3 in the middle, which is more likely going to be Tronstad, Taylor Gardner-Hickman, and probably Cantwell if he's fit. And then you got the 3 up front. Now the 3 up front, I really don't know because at the weekend, to be fair, actually saying that, at the weekend we played 2 up front, be it Yukio Hashi, and we played Good Johnson, who's actually Ida Good Johnson's son, so he got to a mark as well. I think Rovers will stick to exactly how they played against Southampton, but there are changes would make. I wouldn't have Denev, who's as much as for all the speed he's got no brakes. I was convinced that the amount of times when he was going out wide, he was more likely to end up in the stands than he was to actually stand on the pitch, how wide he was going. Ryan Hedges needs to start. Alabioso is brilliant for Rovers this season. I think that's a player you've got to be massively careful of. We got him from Hibs. So when you get a player from Scotland, you think, what's the expectation level going to be here?
We had Alan Mabry, didn't we, Steve?
And like you said, he's powered forward. And like I said, he gets down the right really well. He's a powerful lad who definitely drag players to the bar line and make a bit of space. There's creative players like Morishita that can play just behind the front too as well. like I said before, I think with Cantwell, I wouldn't just really look at players like Cantwell. I mean, if Cantwell's the player that's ultimately going to draw the Leicester players in, thinking, that he's the main focal point. Rovers do have players which can actually, can literally hurt you as well.
Fair enough. I mean, I think everyone's hurt us this season, hasn't they, Steve? Even bloody John Swift. Steve, what do we think to Leicester? Looking at that Millwall team, who are we taking out and who are we putting in? Because I physically would do a 3-5-2 personally, but who sort of goes into the team, Steve, and who's the striker?
So, as I said earlier on, I think Monga drops out for Mavididi. I think he comes in. If Bobby's fit, he drops in for Ramsey, and we have Ayu up top with Fatu on the wing. And then behind we'll have JJ and Winks. That won't change. Defense, you'll probably see, I think Vestergaard and Fass will start again. Ricardo on the right, Solasic in goal. And then it's whether or not Luke Thomas is going to play or if it's Christensen or Aluko. But if it was me and all three of them were fit, I would play Aluko, but I think it will most likely be Christensen.
Fair enough. I'd like to see Ben Nelson, to be fair. But who do you replace him with, Steve? If you had to choose one, Vestergaard or Fass, who'd you take out?
Well, the issue is that Ben Nelson and Vestergaard play very similar football. So, you've got one defender that's good on the ball that can spray passes and the other one that does the same thing. The reason why Vestergaard's been in the team is because he's probably one of our better players this season, if not our best player this season. So if you play him alongside Ben Nelson, there's the complication of who's the main passer of the ball, I guess, and Ben Nelson can't progress the ball forward like Wout Fass can, unfortunately. So at this point, I think it'll be Wout Fass.
Can I just put on you guys as well, right? Because obviously we talk about quite a bit of what we bring to the table. But for any Rovers fans that are tuning in on this, be it that, I know Championship football is available to anybody nowadays to watch. What would you expect? What should Rovers fans expect from Leicester? I mean, put it this way: we played Coventry a couple of weeks ago, a team which I know you guys don't want to talk about them down the road. I get it, okay? Because they've already started filling their stadium for the first time in about 50 years, anyway, right? But when we played them a couple of weeks ago, all I was told is the first 15 minutes, when it'd be the first second half, right, we will be at you all the time. We'll be pressing high. Rose dealt with it so well that we probably should have come away from that game probably winning it. We really did a job for them sort of first half. We we startled them. We didn't let them play the game. So what should Rovers fans expect?
We'll keep holding the ball.
Expect 10 players on the pitch because we haven't got a striker. That's what I'd say.
So tactically, what you're expecting Leicester to keep hold of the ball and pass it between the goalkeeper and the defenders and probe for space, and then so you'll see JJ pushing on into the midfield role with whoever plays in the cam role. So that's either Decoder Reed, Mavididi, or Ayu, and then the wingers cutting inside and taking shots from outside the box. We're a bit.
We're too predictable, aren't we, in the way we play?
Yeah, we are. But realistically, it's a case of we'll keep hold of. We'll probably have 60% possession on Saturday, and we'll have 15 shots with only 2 of them being on target. That's what you're expecting. We're not great against the press, so if you press up high and you hit us quickly, then we struggle. But it's a different bag. It against. You're going to get the first half against Portsmouth where we were really, really good and we looked like we could have beaten them 3-4-0 at half-time. Or we get the second half against Portsmouth where we just feel like we're going to win the game and we sit back and we don't win the game. So, shit, basically.
Shit. I agree. I think you could get to either side of Leicester, Ollie, to be fair. You'll get a good Leicester for the first half against Wrexham and Portsmouth, or you'll get an absolute abysmal Leicester who give the ball away, gift you a goal and... just don't really turn up in the second half.
I mean, from our point of view, for example, we had a sliding doors moment be it this week where we've come back from losing position to win. And, somebody was saying in other pods this week, and as much as I'm trying to sit here and just trying to be content, because, I know it's going to be a tall ask to go to Leicester and get anything, or as it will be in any championship game, by the way, because it's so competitive. But I do have this feels that maybe, just maybe we're playing you at the right time from our perspective. You know, wrong time for yourselves, but obviously from our perspective,
I can agree. Yeah.
You know, crowd's a bit on you. Maybe everything's not hunky-dory in the dressing room. Maybe the place sends a bit of pressure when they go 1-0 down. That plays into our hands.
No, I agree. I think you summed it up perfectly, Ollie. I think, you know, some fans would say you played us at the right time. You know, we're there to be got at, and Millwall proved it. You know, they scored. Second half, they should have had about another 2 more. To be fair, if you played the way Millwall played against us, then I think you could really cause us issues. But Steve, you sort of look at these games against Blackburn and looking at Blackburn's position in the table and that, and how they've gone about this season, par that Southampton win. These are the games we've got to be picking points up from and getting wins, mate, to be fair. That's no disrespect to Blackburn, but we should be winning these games comfortably, but we don't. And this is the problem we've had. Yeah,
exactly. We should be, but unfortunately, football isn't played on paper, is it? It's played on grass with 22 men out there. So, realistically, if we wanted to get into the playoffs or in the automatics, we should be beating Blackburn.
Yeah,
but it depends on who turns up on the day.
Ollie, have Blackburn sold out all their away tickets?
I can reassure you that unfortunately we haven't, and I think that's unfortunate, lads, because the football's not been well. There's been drips and drabs this season. I think people are disillusioned with the football club at the moment as well. Going away to Leicester is no easy feat. It's a 12:30 kickoff. You maybe say a 3 o'clock kickoff, and maybe more people are maybe investing. I think, and it's the same with the Bristol City game on the Tuesday. 2 massive fixtures, tough fixtures. So we'll bring a following, but believe me, you know, Blackburn, for all the criticism we always take, some off feeling your tin pot, you this and that. We're a low populated area, you know what I mean? So, you know, we deal with what we've got in front of us anyway. You know, we've taken full allocations away to Leicester on good days. So, you know what I mean? Maybe we just don't need to take it this time anyway.
We didn't really bring many last time, and you ended up beating us. So it's not about how many fans are there. There could be 1 fan in the away end, mate, and you'd probably still turn us over. But this is a must-win game for us. I think the next 3 games, Leicester's games against Blackburn at the weekend, Middlesbrough have got on Tuesday, Norwich, the game after that. So we've got 3 games coming into the international break, the next one, which bloody I hate the international break, but these are games that we've got to be picking up points. We can't afford to keep dropping. What's your score predictions, boys, before we end this? We'll go with you, Steve, first.
So on the prediction show, I fully go watch the prediction show we did before this at 6 o'clock with the Suffolk Crunch. I went for a 2-0 Leicester win.
2-0. Ollie, what you got, mate?
I always say I give 1 result from the head and 1 result from the heart. And, you know, the one from the heart is always going to be to back my club. And I think if you look at what we just said before, I think there's a little part of me which thinks that Rovers can go and nick a 1-0. But the head what the head says a 2-0 Leicester win, but a good performance by ourselves.
I'm going to stick with what I said earlier in the predictions. 2-0 Leicester. I think we'll win. Ollie, thanks for coming on, mate. Rich has gone 1-0. Really appreciate it. Before I let you go, Ollie, plug your channel, mate. Tell everyone what you do on TikTok. You seem like a very jolly Blackburn fan, is what with some of your pals, is what we like to call you in the WhatsApp group.
I don't smile all the time because I'm a football club, by the way. So, you know, the smile is always you know, I'm more or less depressed because of the football. But if anybody feels the need to come over and listen to me rant and rave about my football club, then the tag is Jolly Ollie BRFC. You'll find me there. And hopefully maybe in the coming months, I'll be moving on to the mainstream, a bit of the YouTube, and we'll take it from there.
Cheers, Ollie. All the best for the rest of the season, mate. Cheers, after this weekend, of course.
Cheers.
That was Ollie. That's it then, Steve. I'll tell you what, Steve, I'm going to let you go and plug the championship predictions for us, mate.
Yep. Go and watch Jack copy me 5 times for the predictions this week, just because he needs to catch up.
High five, Steve.
He's finally hit a double digits this season with predictions. So fair play, but it's a long way to go, Jack. It's a long way to go.
It is 46 games. We're a quarter of the way through and a lot more to come. But thanks everyone for watching. Hit a like on this stream. How many likes do you want to put on it, Steve? 30, 40?
We'll do 40. Do 40. Why not?
40. Right. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Watch this on playback. Let me know your thoughts ahead of the game. Score predictions, whether if you're a Leicester fan or a Blackburn fan. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again on the stream. See you soon.